Welcome to Yin Yoga Lifestyle. I am your host, Colette Darville. Cultivating our body's resilience and inner silence and its application to all aspects of your life. Let's become enlightened and enjoy the power of intuitiveness and creativity. You are listening to Society Bites Radio, social interaction for the mind and soul. Hello, and thank you for joining us today. I am your host, Colette Darville, and this is Yin Yoga Lifestyle. So now let us take a deep meditative breath. Inhale, so, and exhale, hum. Randi Saputo studied at Miami-Dade College to become a registered respiratory therapist and certified pulmonary function technologist. After 10 years of working in the Aventura Hospital in Florida, she took the position of the assistant director of a respiratory division at a smaller local hospital. Randi cared for children in the pediatric intensive care unit for 14 years at the Joe DiMaggio Children's Hospital and is currently working at Joe DiMaggio's Children's Pulmonary Office, helping her patients in pediatrics and adults with cystic fibrosis, asthma, sleeping disorders, and neuromuscular diseases. Randi's career has covered all aspects of cardiopulmonary, from working with adults and pediatrics, emergency care, stress testing, pulmonary function testing, teaching, and pulmonary rehab. Helping people breathe to feel better has always been her passion. She and her husband have 2 adult children and, of course, their fur baby, Lily, the poodle. And when Randi is not working, she enjoys working in her garden, exploring estate and yard sales, going to the beach, and, of course, attending yoga classes. Welcome to Yin Yoga Lifestyle, Randi.
Hi, Colette. Thank you. My pleasure.
Randi, I'm going to start with the beginning of your career. So, what and who influenced your career to become a healthcare practitioner?
Well, I actually, there was nobody in my family that really was in the healthcare profession, but I loved helping people early on when I was in middle school and high school. So I was like a peer counselor. I loved talking to my peers and helping them through their issues. But then later on, after graduating high school, I was dealing with some family health issues, and I saw respiratory therapists working, and I thought, oh, that looks interesting. Let me check into it. So I then signed up and went to school. I really didn't have any idea what it was all about until I started school, but that was the beginning of me loving it and sticking with it for 40 years now.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So there were a lot of people who were influencing you at that point, right? During your career.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. I just loved what I did. I knew that there were so many aspects. After I was in the field for a while, there's so many different branches of my field that you can do. And I just wanted to try everything and be the best at everything. So that's where I continued.
And it's what inspired you to work though as a pediatric respiratory practitioner? Because that's a very specific field.
Yes. So, at the beginning, I was mainly working with adults, geriatrics, and then in the hospital where I worked at, they introduced a pediatric floor. We started getting kids there. So that was like the beginning of me learning about pediatrics, because in school you learn, but you don't really have the hands-on.
Right.
So, so then I started to treat patients with cystic fibrosis in their home. And these, are children with this genetic disease. And I was performing treatments on them. And I, had enough to do that I ended up being a contract respiratory therapist, working a little bit of agency work in the hospitals, and working with neonates and pediatrics. So I was kind of like getting my foot in the door with that.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually it was my dream to work at a children's hospital. And right when I started at Joe DiMaggio is when they opened Joe DiMaggio was like a separate hospital
Mm-hmm.
from Memorial Hospital. And I started there in the pediatric ICU. I learned so much, so much that, and it was just so fulfilling to see these critical patients coming in and then leaving with, so much better. And, it was very fulfilling.
Yeah, very
So,
gratifying, right?
Very, very gratifying. So, I just loved it. And after 14 years of working with, in the intensive care unit, because I had the home health experience, the pediatric experience with working with kids on respirators, asthma, sleep disorders, neuromuscular disorders, a position opened up in this pulmonology office, and I'm just doing everything. I'm the only respiratory therapist here, so I'm able to just, have these babies become your own.
Yeah.
They just become part of you. It's like, okay, goodbye, mom and dad. This is my child now.
Right.
I just, because we work so closely with the children, trying to wean them off of their ventilators, trying to get the best treatment and therapy that is possible for them. So that is so gratifying to me. It just makes my day.
Absolutely. I mean, you're really making a difference, not only to the parents, but so much to the children, and it's a real family thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Just to see their smiles and, not to be frightened of you,
Yeah.
despite wearing the uniform and the masks and the gowns and the gloves, they know who you are. And I just like to give them that happy
that
place
connection.
to come, a nice connection.
Yeah.
And the parents too, it's really important to educate the parents, because these are children that are in the home. They don't know what to do. Most of these people don't have any health care experience, but I try to let them know that they are their children's, best advocate. Because
Absolutely.
it's
Yes.
your child. So they will do everything and anything to keep that child as healthy as they can be.
Now, there's a very technical question that I'm going to ask you right now. And, I mean, it's not only are you fulfilling the emotional connection to the patients and the family, but there is a science to breathing, isn't there?
Yes,
Can you
absolutely.
explain that?
Yes. So breathing for us seems simple because most of us don't think about breathing. But actually, there's a lot taking place. So the primary function of the respiratory system is to get oxygen into your body cells and to get rid of carbon dioxide out of the cells that they're produced from the cells. Our respiratory system begins, most people don't realize that, oh, we're breathing, but our respiratory system begins at our nose and mouth and then travels down into our lungs, like a little upside down tree, and with all the branches. So the branches are like our airways that become smaller and smaller and smaller as they go down into your lungs.
Mm.
At the end of the branch are these little air sacs that are called alveoli, and this is where the gases, the oxygen and the CO2, are exchanged. So when we breathe, the air goes down into those little air sacs, crosses a membrane of this air sac, and then goes into our capillaries. And that's where oxygen goes into the cells, and then CO2 comes out and is exhaled. So once oxygen is in the cells, it's pumped by our heart and circulated to our body, used by all of our organs. So breathing is active. It requires contraction of the skeletal muscles, and so there's work involved. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's people don't think about it, do they? They don't really think about they know they're breathing, but they don't really think about if something's obstructing their breathing, that's when they start to notice, right? It starts to get harder to breathe.
Because when we get a cold, we get extra mucus or secretions in our lungs. That is all making more secretions because there's inflammation in the airway, causing obstruction. And so they need medicine, not only medicine to help open up their airways like bronchodilators, but sometimes they need steroids to keep the inflammation down. So it's really hard. And then when you're compromised with other respiratory issues, like you might have like a chronic issue, premature babies, a lot of them who were born so prematurely end up getting bronchopulmonary dysplasia, which is kind of like a chronic lung disease. It is a chronic lung disease.
Yeah.
And so they're more at risk of getting like a common cold for you or me could be devastating for a child with this disease.
Many, so, I mean, there's so much that happens in our lungs, and we take it for granted, and many people don't breathe correctly, do they? And how does this affect our bodies? And what are the benefits of learning to breathe properly?
Well, as you probably know, oxygen fuels our body, and it gives us better focus, better concentration, eliminating the toxins, the carbon dioxide, like I talked about. Carbon dioxide is produced by our cells, so we need to eliminate and get rid of that. It strengthens our immune system. It helps with everything. You don't think about it, but our bowel function, it reduces stress, because stress can cause all these issues with your body.
Right.
Anxiety, all that, so breathing is vital for our survival. As you know, breathing supplies oxygen to the various organs and eliminates the toxins, waste products, and everything, in our body.
We do take it for granted, and but does some incorrect breathing does it come from anywhere other than from the sort of the lungs? I mean, so what I'm trying to say is, does some incorrect breathing come from other body challenges other than the lungs?
Yes, because everything works together. So our lungs are one thing, but our metabolic system, our kidneys, also work along with breathing. So people that have kidney disease, diabetes, all kinds of metabolic disorders, neuromuscular weakness, like a person that might have had a stroke, cerebral palsy, muscular dystrophy, even obesity can affect the breathing. And so this could make people breathe short, like little short breaths, fast breaths, holding their breath. So some of these things can affect your breathing. It might not be in your lungs, but it could be in your other organs.
Right. Yeah. And